Hello and welcome to this special set of podcasts with me, your host, Bruce Aitchison from Happiness Egg Shaped. We are shining a light on Scottish hockey and some of the superstar players that are part of it. And they've got a big part to play in what's coming up with an exciting 2025 and beyond. This is one of those ones where you know how small the world is. Of all the players, this is the one I know the most. This is the one I've watched. This is the name that we often look out for in the Happiness is Egg Shaped household. We've seen her in the flesh in the Commie Games. We watched her from afar, unfortunately, in the Olympics. We're big fans, so let's waste no more time because it's her you're here to listen to. The one and the only Amy Costello. Hello there.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm delighted that you've tuned in. Now, I've hinted there, so I feel like I know you, but I don't really know you. I hope that's not too creepy. And I was asking you before we came on, is Edinburgh home? Where do we find you now?
So I'm now down in Maidenhead. So we train at Bisham Abbey. So Maidenhead's 10 minutes down the road. So very convenient for training. So here's kind of home now, I guess.
And when you say we, who's we? Who trains at Bisham Abbey?
So the Great Britain women's and men's teams both train full-time, fortunately, at Bisham.
So there's a lot to this. You're a GB athlete, but obviously that then means you get to compete for Scotland. You're one of the Scottish players who's kind of living the dream, aren't you? Because you get to be the full-time athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very fortunate enough to have it as my kind of full-time job. So yeah, I don't have to balance kind of working a dentist job or a lawyer job or something like that alongside trying to fit in probably just as much training as we kind of do down at Bisham. So yeah, I'm in a very kind of fortunate kind of, I don't know, gold dust position, I guess, as a Scottish athlete down training full time.
How does that go? You come back into Scottish camp and you swad back in having done your recovery and had a nice rest and relax. And then you've got players who are coming in, stressed straight from the office, not being able to eat anything before they get there. Do you just have to stay quiet?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I'm very fortunate, but it kind of gives me a bit of perspective, I guess. When I'm down training full time with GB, I appreciate a lot more kind of the facilities and the kind of time we actually get. So yeah, I guess getting paid to go to the gym is quite nice. But yeah, I kind of go back to Scotland training and I have to keep hushed a little bit about kind of what my weeks look like. So yeah, don't want to make anyone too jealous.
You've worked hard to get that though. When you look back and if you could speak to 15-year-old Amy, what would you be saying to her?
Yeah, I don't know. Just keep enjoying it. I think, it was around kind of 14, 15 that I kind of thought, oh yeah, that would be really cool. I think it was when Emily Maguire and Laura Bartlett came back from London in 2012. I was 14 and they kind of brought their bronze medals and I was like, oh right, there's a GB kind of thing that you can do. Like I'd obviously heard of the Olympics and things, but never heard of any Scottish athletes or hockey players kind of going. And so, yeah, I guess it was kind of around that time when it was like, yeah, go for it, I guess, kind of head down and see what happens.
It's an interesting one because more for female athletes, it sounds to me like until that moment, and if GB hadn't performed in that Olympics, you might not have seen that. So it sounds to me like you weren't really aware that was possible.
No, I'd seen the likes of Becky Mill and things like that at the Commonwealth Games and going to Delhi, and had spoken to Claire Lampard, who was my PE teacher at the time, who's now Claire Biaggi. So I was aware very much of like the kind of Scottish girls and the squad there, but I really had no idea of how you got into GB. I knew it was kind of existed on a larger scale, so like athletics and things, and was like, oh, there must be obviously hockey. But I had absolutely no idea how you got in, how it worked, if there was Scottish athletes, Welsh athletes. I assumed there would be, but I didn't really know too much about it until their success in in London. And yeah, the two of them coming back with the bronze medals.
And when you look at your position now, do you think anything's changed? Are 15-year-olds able to see more of it and have maybe a higher expectation than you had?
I hope so. I personally try and kind of reach out to schools kind of when I'm back, just to kind of show like, yeah, I was one of you guys once, like it is possible. I think maybe the route in is a little bit easier now with the kind of development program, kind of bringing in sort of uni age kind of people. So that was kind of a little bit different when I was kind of late in my school hockey kind of playing. So I had my first kind of exposure in my final year of school. But I think, well, I hope now that kind of girls who are younger kind of see that earlier. Because even then, I didn't even know that under 23 thing existed until I was asked to go and trial for it kind of thing. So I hope that, yeah, it's kind of more out there, I guess. And with a bigger number of us kind of involved down here as well, there's more kind of reach up in Scotland. I know Sarah Robertson has done a lot down in the borders with Charlotte Watson in Dundee, like GD and people like that in Glasgow. So yeah, I'm hoping there's more of a reach now for younger kids, so it doesn't feel so far away.
And I'm really interested by that, because it sounds like you guys are doing that because you think that's the right thing to do. It's just the people you are who want to give it a wider reach and get people to see it. It strikes me there's not really a plan or a program for that to happen. Would that be true?
Yeah, so probably not in Scotland, no. It's kind of more on us either reaching out or like going along to kind of camps and things that our old coaches might be running, or going back to our old schools or old kind of club coaches speaking and saying, oh, well, we're working at this school, we've got this kind of event, would you mind doing like a good luck message or something like that, which is always fun to do, record it a few times, make some mistakes and all that. But down here it's a little bit better run in that schools can get in contact with GB or England Hockey and request kind of a couple of people to go down and open a pitch or something like that. So it's a little bit better. I'm not 100% sure whether Scottish Hockey have something similar, but a lot of kind of the players do it through kind of clubs and things like that back in Scotland. So yeah, I'm not sure it's necessarily a set thing, but I think all of us enjoy doing it.
At any point did somebody tell you not to be so silly? Did you verbalize to someone, I want to be a professional hockey player? Did you make that known that was what you wanted to do?
I don't think I necessarily said a professional hockey player. I think I had from kind of 14 around that time, I'd been like, oh yeah, I'd love to go to the Olympics and play for GB. Don't know how it's going to happen. Don't know kind of what's going on. But I think it was just before London. It was 2008. I think the GB setup became centralised. So then that's when it was kind of professional, I guess. And I didn't really know that kind of was a thing either. And to be honest, I didn't know it was a thing until I was asked to trial for it either. So to be quite honest, I didn't have that on my agenda other than I really wanted to kind of play for GB and go to the Olympics. So I guess that was kind of more of the aim for me rather than necessarily being kind of a professional, fully funded kind of athlete, I guess.
So in some respect, like you used aim there. I suppose it was an aim or a dream without really knowing the steps to get there. You knew it was a thing and you wanted that thing, but you didn't really know how to get there. I'm just thinking, I'm sure I saw a stat in my head somewhere. There are 200,000 professional footballers in the world. Now that's huge.
Yeah.
I can't even guess how many professional hockey players there are in the world, but it'll be a lot less than 200,000. So yeah. You're in a really elite group of people, but does that make it harder to stay there?
Yeah, I think so. I think naturally it's we've got around 30, I think, in the squad. give or take a few every now and again. But yeah, I think once you're kind of not performing or kind of in that group, then you kind of get cut or whatever from it. Then you're back to your kind of club setup, or you're back to uni, or you're back into work. So there's not even really a middle ground. It's kind of you're all in or you're not. I think this is where kind of the benefit of being Scottish comes. I would still potentially get international hockey, but it would be at the compromise of working or studying full time. So yeah, I guess it kind of makes you keep your focus and kind of appreciate what you have, given there are 30 women, 30 men in the country, kind of fully funded professional hockey players. So yeah, it's not easy.
When you quote those numbers, it's unreal the performance that you're able to get. And whenever they go away to a tournament, it's not just the 11. It's the 30. It's the whole group. It's the whole team, because you must become really close in an environment like that. It must feel like it's us and only us against the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for the Olympics, there's 16 who go out of 30 girls, and we train 4 days a week. A lot of us play club hockey together, so we see a lot of each other, and form kind of not just teammates but like friendships and things. And yes, it's brilliant. It's also really challenging because essentially you're competing at the same time against some of your closest friends, and you kind of go through the highs and the lows of selections for yourself, but also with kind of your friends and stuff. So yeah, I think that can hinder in some ways, but can also be like so strong in kind of performances and things like that. Which is only evident, I guess, in the kind of history of the program since becoming kind of fully centralized and things, with three Olympic medals in the kind of 16 years that it's been centralized. So yeah, many friends have come out from the program as well.
Indeed. Please, have you had a moment, or maybe you've had more than one, where you found yourself somewhere, I don't know if it's in the middle of a pitch or in the village, and you've gone, wow, like this is little Amy from Edinburgh has got to this point. Have you had many moments like that?
I think the biggest one for me was Paris, and kind of walking out on the first game, running out and singing the anthem with kind of the massive stands in the stadium, which was full, and just being like, yeah, wow, this is it. This is really, really cool. I've kind of felt like it's been such a long journey, and there's been many highs, many lows, and this is kind of regardless of how it went. It was obviously weird because you kind of get selected. There's that high of being selected, but then it's like, okay, now we need to focus again because we want to do well and things. But I think I definitely allowed myself that kind of moment when we went into the first game to be like, take it all in, like this is really special, because I think you can easily get caught up in kind of the next thing. So like I said, selection, and then you're like, oh, well, now we need to focus on training to go there, and you can easily kind of let it go straight past you. But no, definitely that kind of moment walking out, and then you could see friends and family in the crowd and things, and it was just really special.
It just looked incredible as well. I mean, everything about Paris just seemed to, very special. When you look back, it's obviously gone, and then, like you say, there's the next thing. You've got a lot coming up this year with Scotland. There's another Olympics that, for hockey, especially with the way Commie Games has gone, the Olympics it's always important, but possibly more so with this Commonwealth Games cycle doing what it's done. Do you allow yourself the chance in periods of holiday or downtime to reflect and look back and give yourself a bit of a pat on the back, or is it always eyes on the next prize?
I think I have actually gone to Holland this season to play my club hockey, so I didn't have much time to kind of sit and reflect. But once I got back in November and kind of slowed down a little bit and the hockey kind of turned off for a couple of months, I think I kind of reflected back and kind of, took a step back and sort of saw it as the kind of with a bit more perspective of kind of the journey that I've been on. Just to, kind of allowed myself to feel really proud, I think. I don't think when you're kind of in it and in the 4-year cycle, you don't really get the opportunity to kind of stop and be like, this is actually incredible what I'm getting to do and the things I've done. And actually, 1 in 30 people, as I've said before, actually in this kind of position, because you are always thinking, what's next? Am I traveling to Scotland for training? Have I got this tournament with Scotland? Am I going here for Pro League or there for this tournament or whatever? And easily time kind of quickly passes you by. But I've definitely taken the time over kind of Christmas, New Year, to reflect and think, it's been a pretty incredible journey so far, but there's some big things still to come, I think, in the future.
That was the most beautiful media answer I've ever heard. I love it.
Media trained.
And when you talk about decisions, who's making those decisions with you? When you say you go to Holland, there's obviously there's a plan there. It's not just I'm going to play in Holland. There's a plan there that maybe people who are hockey fans or following GB are not fully aware of. So who's part of that decision-making process to go and challenge yourself in that environment?
So it was a little bit of kind of sort of teammates have gone over there and kind of suggested, oh, well, why don't you play? The Dutch league is by far superior to any league in the entire world. It's equivalent to the Premier League, probably. I'd maybe put it on equal kind of terms as that. And so the level is just so much better. The kind of regular quality games that you get every weekend is just better than the English Premier League as well. And this year and next year, the GB program is also part of England. So England play in the Pro League, which is kind of a international league for the top 10 teams in the world. And they play the teams kind of in different locations around the globe. But these 2 years are England who play in those. So it takes up a lot of kind of the international calendar. So I would basically be I could still train with GB and England, but I wouldn't get to play the kind of international games that they are. And so by going to Holland, I kind of get the kind of quality games more consistently, whilst also still getting to play the kind of Scotland tournaments that we have this year. So it was kind of a discussion with David Ralph, the GB coach, to say, what do you think? This is an opportunity for me to not only kind of experience the hockey out there, but also just a different lifestyle. Again, it's quite professional out there, so I don't have to necessarily work either. And just an opportunity to play good hockey, experience a different kind of culture, their kind of style of hockey. So it was kind of my own decision, I guess, in the end, but with a little bit of kind of advice and help from some coaches and some players who have also done it and said it was really worthwhile.
I love the way you've described that there, because it wasn't just to go and play hockey, it was to experience something. And so there's Amy the athlete, but there's Amy the human, and both need to be developed. When you go to somewhere like Holland, the hockey level is the strongest player is very strong, but not the weakest player, but you get what I mean, is of a really high standard. So you have to be on your game. When you then come back into the environment with GB, having had that experience, how does it feel? Do you feel like you're able to take more of a leadership? Do you feel like you're able to speak up more, or do you not really notice much of a change?
I think culturally the Dutch can be quite direct, which is kind of, I don't think that's a criticism at all. I think it's a brilliant thing. And actually kind of delving into that, you kind of are like, oh, this is great. Just say it how it is and get on with it. Basically, there's no kind of sort of
sugarcoating it.
Stuff. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. So actually then coming back and just being like, do you know what, I'm just going to say kind of how I'm thinking, and actually it makes it so much easier. I think just being kind of more open and honest with kind of your opinion, whether it's kind of supported or not, at least it's kind of said and you can discuss that. Yeah, so I think that's definitely something I've kind of tried to bring back in kind of from the first 3 months I've been out there. Yeah, and I guess just generally, like, I'm a big advocate of being kind of a human being first over kind of an athlete. And so being out there and actually being kind of really happy as a kind of human being and a person, then kind of coming back, I feel really kind of content with myself. So then I feel like I'm playing some of my best hockey because as a person, I'm kind of in a good headspace. So yeah.
Again, I love that, and it's the kind of thing. In some respect, you said the word lucky earlier, and I'm going to pick up on that again, I promise. But there's an element of that in Holland you can do that thing, and you've got the ability to come out of a program with the trust and support of that program to go and try something else, knowing that there will be benefit for Amy the human and Amy the player. The bit I wonder if can all the players have that experience? Can they all get that chance to go?
I think definitely as a Scottish athlete, it's definitely an opportunity for people to kind of branch out and experience something different given the nature of the program. I think it's maybe harder for a Scottish athlete who's not in the GB program, who does have a job or is at uni, but I would definitely say it's an opportunity once you've finished studying in that kind of year where you're in limbo, maybe of, do I go traveling or get a job? Like, kind of what's the next steps is definitely, I would say, anyone considering it, do it, whether it's kind of Belgium, Germany, Holland. The three of them kind of offer pretty similar things. The level's slightly different, but definitely the Dutch and the Belgian leagues are kind of coming up, and well, the Belgians catching up a little bit with the Dutch league in terms of the professionalism of it. But all three of those nations are really good for kind of hockey and the experience that you can get. For the kind of English girls, I guess it's similar. It tends to be after an Olympic Games that people would kind of go abroad to play a season when the program doesn't feel quite as kind of honed in and concentrated, but also saying that we're kind of trying to change it and have more of a consistent kind of focus rather than having these kind of ebbs and flows of, oh, we really need a break after the Olympics because the program's been so tiring, that kind of thing. So yeah, I know some of the men do the program and travel. So they kind of travel and play in the Dutch league, but also do the GB program, which I think is quite difficult. Kind of, you are traveling a lot, taking out kind of the life parts of both and just kind of focusing on the hockey. So it wouldn't be something that I would do, but I would, yeah, I think it's an opportunity for everybody, but can be challenging alongside the program. But if you're not in doing the program, I would, recommend to anyone is of any league, because the Dutch league is very good, and so are the kind of tiers below. So kind of find any club and experience it would be my kind of advice, I guess.
You're very wise, Amy. I love that. I love that. Did you feel, did it freshen you up? Did it mean you came back into GB with not that you were stale, but to be able to go and see something else? You come back in, things have changed a little bit, you've changed a little bit, spring in the step, and that plays a part in being happy, Amy? Yeah,
I think so. I think just, the kind of perspective of it, something different, something new, a different challenge. I've got like a bit of leadership out there as well. And so kind of having that kind of experience that a little bit more. And I guess I can kind of felt I could bring that back into the GB and more so kind of for Scotland. kind of bring that back in. And I've quite enjoyed kind of adding that string, I guess.
And do you fulfill a different role, GB, in Scotland? Scotland, I'm guessing people are looking to you coming in as that GB athlete. The expectation will be quite high. They'll be expecting leadership and confidence from you. They'll look to you to role model things. Is that something you relish?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of come around what feels like quite quickly, that kind of role, with some kind of older players retiring in the last few years and things, and having kind of more GB experience. It's something I think that has always kind of been there a little bit, but now it feels like it's kind of more of a like obvious kind of situation and role that I'm in. And kind of navigating that, I guess, can be hard. Like I'm still, well, I say only 27. I'm older than most people in the Scotland programme now. But I still feel relatively young. And so, I guess it's just learning kind of how to tackle that more kind of cemented role, I guess, and not letting it affect me too much. But I do enjoy kind of the leadership side of it, but also kind of taking people along with me as well, and not kind of leading from up here, but actually leading from kind of within, and kind of making sure that everyone is kind of getting the best of themselves. And it doesn't have to be like vocally, like I'm quite vocal with Scotland in particular, but like other people can take on their own kind of leadership within that, I think. So rather than kind of being too much up here, I like to kind of take that role from within and hope that everyone kind of jumps on the bus as well.
Yeah, I think you've got a few passengers on there, absolutely no question. I love the way you described that. When you came into, hockey starts young. You're talking about going for trials. You were young and to a certain extent naive, because you weren't actually aware of what was on offer. In some respects, you weren't sure what you were trialing for by the sounds of things. But who did you look at the period you came in, especially to GB? Those were household names. Those were people that had probably shone a light on what was possible. They were becoming real female role models, not just for hockey, but for anybody to look at and aspire to. Was there well, I suppose there's maybe two bits to this. Was there anyone that you were a bit in awe of, but who was it that you were looking at and copying? Who were you then following as your role models?
Yeah, so
this is your chance to name drop, Amy.
So I remember, I was picking my university and went down for an open day kind of, I think I'd already accepted, I was going to Birmingham, University of Birmingham, so I think I'd already accepted my place, and I was going down to just kind of have a look before I started. And I remember sitting down with Phil Gooderham, the coach, and then Lily Owsley came through. And at this point, I think she'd just got back from, they hadn't gone to Rio yet. But even so, I think that year she'd got World Junior Player of the Year. Now, I think I sat there in absolute silence with my mum sat next to me doing all the talking. And I was just like, wow, she's amazing. Wow. Couldn't say anything. So I was definitely very much in awe of her. And then obviously they had the most unbelievable summer that year in 2016, winning gold. And then coming back, then joining Birmingham and playing with her at club was, incredible. And learned a lot from kind of that, in terms of, kind of a jaw drop. Wow. moment, I guess, starstruck. And then I would say the other part, in terms of who I've kind of aspired to kind of be like, not that I haven't, if Lily's listening, it's not that I haven't aspired to be like her. But definitely Giselle Ansley. I think the kind of way she kind of held herself through what it would have been 8 years, I would have trained with her. And then the last kind of 2 years played with her at Surbiton. The way she tackled every training session like it was kind of almost Olympic final, the competitiveness and the kind of drive she put into training and the pressure she put on herself to kind of perform, and what she kind of put into every session and kind of gym session and everything was inspiring. And the success that she's had at Rio, and kind of she's not someone who's, and she'll say it herself, like naturally kind of skillful as such, but she draws on all her assets and like leads, and the kind of desire and competitiveness that she kind of puts in was so inspiring. And the way she went about her career is something that if I can even kind of go about my business with half of what she did, not even achieve what she did, I'll be very proud of myself. So she is definitely someone that I've looked up to, and I've been inspired by, and now I've got a teammate and a friend out of that as well.
I love it. Did you watch that 2016 and just were you dreaming when you watched that unfold?
Yeah, we were on holiday in Turkey actually, and it was like the middle of the night or something, and I said, Mum, we need to get a VPN because we need to watch it. She was like, what even is a VPN, Amy? Come on. She's like, oh, I just want to lie by the pool. I was like, no, we need to get a VPN. They're in the final. We need to watch it. It was absolutely incredible. And so inspiring. And I think especially now, having been to, well, I say kind of 1.5 Olympics, but one Olympics for sure. Yeah. I think off the back of that, and also kind of with how inspiring that was, the kind of drive and not obsession, that's a bit far, but the kind of want to kind of achieve even a sniff of kind of that is definitely rumbling in the background, ready to kind of come out once the cycle for me and GB and stuff kind of starts fully.
I've kept you for longer than I said I was going to, but I've still got a few things to ask. So I'm strapping you in here. Obviously, let's tackle this year first. 2025 in a Scotland dress is now taking on so much importance. What is it you've got coming up, and what is it you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so we head to Chile for the Nations Cup, which is kind of pro league promotion tournament in 2 weeks. So the 17th of February. I'm not sure if this will be out or not by then, but in 2 weeks. And then we've got the European A division in Germany in August or July in the summer, which could qualify us for a World Cup if we do kind of above and beyond well, and probably historically well in that tournament. But 2 tournaments that will be kind of against top 15 nations. So people around us more in the Nations Cup, and then higher ranked teams in the Europeans. But 2 very exciting tournaments, which we've been looking forward to for a while now, and a big opportunity for us to kind of, we're looking to maybe move 1 or 2 ranking places because of next year and World Cup qualification. So not getting too far ahead of that with these 2 tournaments coming up closer, but definitely kind of half an eye on next year as well.
Yeah, there's always another thing. I love that you were a proper professional athlete there. I'll just turn up when I'm told. I can't actually remember when the tournament is, but I'll be there because someone will have sent me a ticket, and I'll have my kit and I'll be there. That was a real professional athlete answer rather than maybe a trained one. I loved that. And then that deals with a little bit, and LA is obviously in the sights. Yeah,
absolutely. Again, I'm probably won't get too far ahead of that because for me, kind of GB involvement doesn't start until, well, I'll do a bit of training, but in terms of games, and for me kind of focusing on that probably starts September 2026. So another kind of 1.5 years. But yes, definitely very much in the sights, and a big kind of goal for me personally.
You say sights and goal. Are these things that you map out? Have you written these things down? Are these recorded somewhere, or do you just deal with the next thing that's coming?
It's kind of, I've not written things down. It's definitely kind of in my head, the kind of goals for me. But the kind of more immediate things are definitely written out when I need to turn up to the airport. And then from that moment on, I'm in sheep mode and I will follow everyone and be told where I'm going and follow the schedule for the day.
I love it. That's the professional athlete. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. And looking further ahead, being a young leader and someone who relishes that, can you see yourself still being involved in the game when you stop playing? Or what is the future? Have you got a post-athletics plan?
That's a good question.
It's okay. You don't need. Sorry, I'm not being a parent there.
No, it's all right. So I've studied for my whole life and still study now. So I'm actually doing a law conversion part-time and have been since January 23 I started, and I'll finish this May. So I'll then have converted my sports science degree and then potentially looking to qualify possibly after LA. I think it'll be kind of a discussion. Is that when I want to retire? Is it not? I'm not sure. I kind of want to retire before the game kind of retires from me. But I mean, it's a long way. I don't really want to be speaking about retirement yet.
No, don't talk about that.
But I definitely want to kind of give back a little bit or a lot to kind of the game, whether it's kind of inspiring. I kind of at the minute, I kind of go in through a company called Thomas Franks. I do a lot of kind of ambassador talks and things with schools, which I really enjoy, especially just kind of interacting with kids and get like at them asking questions, even if it's like about university and stuff. And like, I'm a prime example. You go to uni and do sports science for 6 years, and then you're like, oh, well, actually, I'm going to do a law conversion. Brilliant. Did I do anything to do with law at school? Absolutely not. PE and product design.
Yeah, quite right.
So, yeah, I think I really enjoy kind of speaking to kids and kind of hopefully settling kind of worries about that kind of thing and their journeys, and saying, every player's journey is different. Whether you're I was very young going into international hockey, but there's girls who don't get their first cap until they're 29, 30. And so actually, even if kids have the aspiration, they shouldn't kind of lose sight if they're not getting scooped up at 16 or younger. So yeah, I would like to give back as much as I kind of can, but potentially a legal career, but who knows?
I love it, and you don't need to have that plan just now. Well, my wife, your former teacher, got her first cap for Scotland at under 45 Masters, so there's still hope.
Exactly.
There's still hope. So I'm going to come back to something that we've said the word a couple of times, but I'm interested with this, especially when you talk about giving back. So the luck I think you had was the school you went to, with the teachers you had, the role models you had, the program you were involved in, the fixture list you had, the quality of training, all those things. Now that's not available to everybody, unfortunately, in sport, never mind hockey.
Yeah.
If you were to look at things that could be improved, what would they be? You're talking about wanting to give back and make a difference. If the First Minister or Prime Minister came and said, okay, Amy, tell us what we need to do, give me some insight into some of the things that you think would make it better let's just stick with hockey. What could make hockey better for everyone?
I think just the accessibility of it. I think it's naturally quite some may say a privileged sport. A lot of private schools play it because they have the money to have the facilities, and the kids, generally speaking, can fund their own sticks and shin pads and gum shields and whatnot. And typically that's quite challenging for, say, a state school to get an AstroTurf that plays well or whatever. So then if it doesn't have an Astro, then you don't get the games and the training and things. So kind of the accessibility of it and the provision maybe of equipment, possibly. And I mean, naturally, you say the money in the game, even as for us as kind of the kind of top level Scotland players, we still have to self-fund to kind of go on these trips, which has become a bit of an assumption, which personally I think it's kind of shouldn't be a given, that as an international you have to kind of self-fund to go. So then you can only imagine what then the younger kind of generations are having to contribute to play. And I think it then means if you go to, say, a state school and there's a kid that's absolutely raw talent, and you say, well, come along to our under 16 Scotland trials, but there's this fee you have to pay, and the parents are like, I'm sorry, we can't afford it, then that kid's gone. Like they've been lost from the pathway and maybe won't even pick up a stick again. So I just think the accessibility and the kind of funding surrounding just generally hockey, especially in Scotland, is a massive thing, whether it's kind of through government funding or sponsorships or, I don't know, provision of some equipment. It doesn't even need to be kind of money. It can just be goods in kind more. And just, getting people kind of, I don't know, playing more, like get it out there, I guess. But yeah, definitely the kind of accessibility in terms of kind of costs and funding and things like that.
I reckon we sack this law degree and we target politics. I reckon there's an avenue there for you.
Maybe to waffle around an answer and then just sum it up at the end.
Yeah, quite right. Well, why not? It seems to work for many others. Amy, I've absolutely loved speaking to you. I love speaking to Fee. I hope everything goes well in Chile and in Germany, and for you personally. I'm going to hit you with a few quick fire ones here, though. Okay. Best roommate?
Lily Walker.
Funniest teammate?
Amy Gibson.
Best up the back of the bus?
Oh, Sarah Robertson.
Oh, interesting. Now, I reckon before you even answer this, I reckon I know what position they'll play. Smelliest player?
Goalkeeper.
Correct. There you go. Yeah, I knew that was coming. That was coming. Star for the future?
Kat Nelly.
Okay. Position?
What position does she play?
Yeah.
Striker.
Okay, so there's going to be lots of goals. Okay. And predictions for the summer? Chile first. I suppose that's not necessarily summer, but Chile first, then Germany. Predictions, please, for Scotland.
Chile semi-final, and then we'll see what happens from there. And Europeans 5th.
Excellent. Love that. Country you look forward to playing against the most?
With Scotland, England. And with Great Britain, the Dutch.
And best or hardest opponent?
The Dutch.
Definitely. Any player in particular?
Yebby Janssen. For sure.
Nice. For sure. Yeah. I don't think it would just be you that would answer that. But that's class. Yeah. Amy, thank you so much. I've absolutely loved speaking to you. All the very best, and hopefully at some point we'll meet and be able to chat some more. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I absolutely loved that, and it went on a lot longer. I think she's probably checking her watch quite a few times. That was Amy Costello. There's lots going on for Scottish hockey. Please tune in. Please keep watching. Please support. Spread the word. Tell your friends. You can listen to this on Apple, Acast, Spotify, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch on Facebook and on YouTube. Follow Scottish hockey. Support this team, and let's see what we can do in the future, because we've got fantastic role models like Amy Costello. All the very best. My name is Bruce Aitchison from Happiness Egg Shaped, and I look forward to speaking to you all again very, very soon.